J. Geiger, you
Yes.
are a resident specialist in Halloween. It is your favorite holiday. You love it.
It is.
You look forward to it every year. You have built special contraptions to launch candy at children at your house.
Yes, I did.
So I have a question for you, and this is a historical question. Do you know, Brad, speaking of Halloween, why vampires traditionally can't see themselves in a mirror, Brad?
This is such a great story. It all comes down to silver. Just like with werewolves.
You do know. Okay, you do know. All right.
Back in the day, mirrors were made. The way they were made reflective was a silver. First, it was polished silver. Then it was a silver coating behind the glass. And silver was always assumed to have supernatural powers. That's why you got to kill a werewolf with the silver bullet. And so the silver was meant to prevent a vampire from having a reflection. Which, of course, led people to ask, well, how come they don't show up on cameras? But there's an answer to that as well, because the early photographic cameras, silver was one of the properties that made the photographic film do what it did. And then later on, even digital cameras use a certain amount of silver in the circuitry. So that's why not only do vampires not show up in a mirror, but they don't show up in cameras, film, or even today's digital photography.
I am so chuffed that you knew this. Not only did you knew this, you were like a Wikipedia entry. Like, well, and you'll also know they didn't have a cast and shadow. And the reason for that is, do you know why vampires didn't have a cast and shadow, by the way?
The cast and shadow I'm not familiar with, no.
Apparently because they had given up their soul. And so the soul was seen as part of the reason why we had a shadow. I don't know why people couldn't figure out that the sun was partially responsible, but that's all right. But yeah, you're right. It was all silver. And so I guess, and I looked it up, apparently Middle Ages Christianity considered silver to be a holy metal in the sense that I guess more of the Holy Spirit was in silver than it was in other metals.
Sure.
We can all agree that Middle Age metallurgy was not exactly top of the line thinking, you know.
Listen, the Holy Spirit's going to hang out in a lot of places. You're not going to find it in brass. Don't even look for it in brass. It's not going to show up. But silver and some of your golden tinctures are going to be Holy Spirit ready.
Hello, it's me, the Holy Spirit. Listen, I got some metals I like. I like silver, not so big on brass. I gotta tell you, brass is for low-key, that's squatters' rights is brass. I don't go with brass.
Yeah,
Listen, you need to kill a werewolf, though. There's a lot of me in some silver. Anyway, I've been the Holy Spirit.
I've been the Holy Spirit.
Hey-oh.
Yeah, I actually did a deep dive on this once, and if you look somewhere in the 20s, 2021, there's a whole blog post on Evil Inc. that goes into a deep discourse on silver and vampires.
I got to tell you, I thought I had finally found a question that I was going to share with you that was going to unlock new things for you. And the fact that you came back with like the Encyclopedia Britannica about that, I am so chuffed that you knew all that. By the way, how long have you known all that?
I did a blog post in like 2020, 2021. It was just around COVID. For a storyline, I did like the research, and then I made a big blog post in Evil Inc. About it, and it's something that it's just once you know it, it kind of sticks with you.
Yeah, once you know it. Anyway, I'm so impressed by you. And on that note, my friend, and being impressed, hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about being impressed by Brad Geiger and making comics.
And being one of the undead and making a living from comics. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his friend, lovingly looking at him in a mirror, the cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of Strip. That sentence almost was landed.
If you see me in the mirror, you got bigger problems than vampires, let me tell you. I told my doctor, I walked into the doctor, I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. Every time I get up, I go into the bathroom, I look in the mirror, and I immediately feel like I want to vomit. He says, I don't know what's wrong with you, but your eyesight is perfect. And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. Not only do I love my friend because he has an encyclopedic knowledge of vampires, he also has every vaudeville joke ready and just at the edge of his pocket, ready to whip it out at you. I tell you what, I went to my doctor and I said, bibbidi bobbidi boobity, and he said, anyway, Brad, we've got a fun show for everybody, and we're going to pack it full of questions. So let's jump right in. We got our first question, Brad, coming in over at patreon.com/comiclab, and I will read this to you from Carlos. It says, hey, Brad and Dave, I have recently got the opportunity to do an art exhibition. My art was displayed in a popular city gallery. I have more opportunities to do this, but more to the point, is it worth it? I got some exposure, but does it help my comics, Brad Geiger? My last exhibition piece was all original, handwritten lettering, color pencil, and alcohol markers for color with traditional inks. You can see how much I would look forward to doing another one. But Brad, the question is it worth it, art galleries?
Wow. Okay. So I remember that when that question came in, and this was the first time I noticed that exhibition piece was singular. In other words, this isn't a person who has had a gallery showing of his work. There was a gallery showing almost the equivalent of an anthology. And one of the pieces was this person's work.
Yes. You know what? So I'm so glad that only as you point this out do I see that. I missed it in 3 readings of that question. So.
I didn't notice it until I heard you read it out loud. So let's go down.
Let's answer the question broadly about art galleries and then specifically about having just one piece in an art gallery.
Well, yeah, because listen, if there was a gallery showing of Brad Geiger work, then I'd have to consider it. Right. And in fact, I would even say just for the fun of it, it sounds like there might be a gallery showing that I might be involved with. But since I don't, and I can't say much more than that, but since I don't do original art, ink on paper, I might be participating digitally at best. But do I think it's going to do anything for my career? No. In fact, the only reason to do a gallery show, in my opinion, is your work hangs on the wall and somebody comes in and wants to buy it, right? It's a transactional thing. Unless and like I said, you're doing a retrospective of your career and you've got, 30 pieces of your work that's hanging on the wall. That's something that you do for other reasons entirely. But what this person's talking about doesn't sound like the piece sold. It didn't sound like it was a worthwhile effort. It was certainly something that you maybe wanted to experiment and try out, but it didn't get sold. It didn't do anything for you. You can 100% guarantee nobody looked at that on the wall and then immediately ran to look up your comic on the web. So you converted none of those people into readers. The only kind of promotion, as we say on Comic Lab, the only kind of promotion is the clickable kind. If it's not clickable, it's not promotion. So no, I don't think this is something that I would put any time into doing any further. Am I off base there, Dave?
No, I think we broadly agree. I think, listen, if it falls into your lap and it's not a tremendous amount of effort and you already have the pieces produced, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing a gallery show. I've done all of one in the past where I had 5 pieces up in a little section that had a header that said Dave Kellett. And how fun for me it was. I'll be honest, all it was a nice ego boost. I had probably as many eyeballs see that artwork as see my social media posts in a 5-minute period over the course of many, many days of being up in the gallery, right? And of the people that saw my work in the gallery, I probably had at best, of the 100 people, 300 people that might have seen it, 1 person at best go to my website and that's like if there's a QR code hanging up right next to it. Like, no matter what you do, you're not going to get people to go to seek you out. It's just... It's asking a lot of people. So is it fun to do? Yes. Will it in any way grow your audience? I think both Brad and I super agree it will not grow your audience. Yeah. The second thing to talk about that we haven't talked about is, let's say you make a sale. Well, when I sell a Sheldon original on my website, I make 100% of the profit.
That's right, you do.
Depending on how you want to look at it, It's all profit because, granted, it took time and effort and years to get to the point of being able to sell that thing. But it's not like cost of goods sold that I've, for every book I sell, I also spent X amount of money to make that book. That original art is, for the most part, a pure profit center for me when I sell those. When you sell them at a gallery, most commonly, Brad, it's going to be a 50-50 split. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I don't have direct experience with that, but if I heard it was 50-50, I would have no reason to disregard that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can negotiate in terms of like, if you have some modicum of power, you can negotiate. But also bigger galleries, the sort of megawatt galleries, can even take more of a slice. So it can go both ways.
Okay, so let's instead of straw manning the argument, we'll take the opposite. We'll Superman the argument. Let's say they take only a 10% split, split, right? The point you're making is you can easily sell that original art on your own and take 100% of the money.
Right,
you don't need this gallery to be out there selling your stuff. You have, in fact, I've seen your site. I see how quickly your originals go when the comics go up, because I've tried to nab a few myself, and it's like, nope, this is gone already. You don't have any problems selling your stuff. So even if that gallery took 10%, it wouldn't be worth your time.
I genuinely don't know if you're talking to me or the question asker there. Are you talking about my
your work sells very quickly.
Brad, if you ever wanted one of my originals, you don't have to go on the site and buy it. You just have to email me and then I'll sell it to you. You don't have to. Anyway.
So but you don't need to be splitting with no gallery. That's 100% profit for you.
Yeah, listen, to our question asker, Carlos, I will say, like, listen, is it fun to do? Sure. It's inarguably fun. It's neat to see your work up on a wall. We've had artists that have also said, like, hey, I have a local coffee shop that's willing to exhibit local artists. Also fun, perfectly fine. You do have to accept there is a not 0% chance that art can be hurt when it's hung up on a public setting. Coffees can be spilled. Kids can throw things, all this sort of stuff. So coffee shops can be tricky occasionally, but it's also just fun. It's fun to see your artwork up, and it's fun to go to the coffee shop and get a coffee and look at people looking at your art or not looking at your art, as the case may be. It's humbling too. So, is it fun to do? Great. Will it bring you any audience? No. Is there money there? Well, you have to ask yourself, is it a sale that never would have happened unless it was in the gallery? Versus, am I giving up 50% for a sale that would have otherwise happened on my site?
And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of the matting and the framing, that's all on you. In other words, you have to prepare that to be put up in the gallery, right?
Well, it depends on, I mean, it can happen that way, but it also depends on the gallery. Some galleries like to do specific kind of matting and framing on their own. But yeah. And by the way, that might be its own fee if they do that too. It all depends on the gallery. I was just going to say, they're not doing that for free. And maybe they, if they sold it, they would take a cut. But if it didn't sell, then you'd be liable. I don't have any firsthand knowledge here. All I know is there's no way that's worth it. I do like to time from time to mentally step into someone else's shoes and imagine being a gallery owner. That to me seems like an impossible business.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know how those things don't close immediately. It's like anytime a certain small restaurants open up in my town, there's one location where they open, they close, they remodel, they open, they close, they remodel. Yeah. And it's like every 18 months it's a new restaurant because certain locations are just impossible. I also feel like art galleries it just feels like it's an impossible business model. Yeah, I don't know.
I would not want to try and. What would you rather do? Gun to your head, you've got to open one, a comic shop or an art gallery?
You know what? Just because I'm closer to it, I could figure out a comic shop. The economics would still be hard, though, in a comic shop.
Yeah, because those guys have it difficult, too. I mean, they have a real difficult business model. Yeah.
Yeah, and as much as I shit can putting my books in comic book shops, it's also the case where the margins are terrible in a comic book shop for the owner.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of destroyed product of teens that like don't give a shit and they're pawing your product and then they put it back on the shelf. And anyway, so yeah, I don't know what I would do there. In terms of a gun to my head, gallery shop or comic book shop, what would you do? What would you choose?
Oh, I'm with you. I'd do the comic shop just because I understand that world better. And I think the smart thing right now that I see comic shops doing is making a strong tilt towards middle grade graphic novels.
Yeah.
And you've got the floppies there for the old school comics fans, but now they're bringing their kids in and they're heading over to buy, the Table Titans Club and all the rest. And that's I would be making that the anchor of my store and having the comic shop around that and working it from there.
I agree with you that to me, it seems like the only way to make the model work is to diversify. And in fact, the one that I was going to talk about for a second in Santa Monica, California, just closed. But they would do wine pairings with comics at night.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
They would do Magic the Gathering tournaments, Pokemon tournaments. A lot of those tournaments seem to do well in terms of Venn diagram of audience. Anyway, well, let's join up with our second question about joining a professional organization, Brad. So this question comes in from Rebecca over at patreon.com/comiclab and says, Bradley, I believe you've touched on this before, but I'm wondering if you could expand on the topic a little bit more. Is it beneficial for beginner level cartoonists to join professional organizations for illustrative artists, such as the National Cartoonist Society or the Graphic Artists Guild? Or are they only for full-time professionals, Brad?
Yeah.
What benefits, if any, have you personally experienced from joining these kinds of organizations? A totally valid question, by the way. Totally valid.
Yes, it is. And it's a question that our answers would have been different 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and now in many cases. And I can say I've been a member of both. I was a member of the Graphics Artists Guild for a little while, because I wanted to support what they were doing, especially that book that they put out, the Pricing Guide and Ethical Handbook and Pricing Guide. And I thought they were doing a lot of good things. I was a member for about a year. Then somebody came on and they were also very good about doing like online seminars for educational purposes.
Okay.
And I thought that was something I wanted to support too. Then one month, I got an email that they were going to do an online seminar that was going to show you how to make it big in NFTs. And I opened up my profile, canceled my subscription to their organization, stopped all the emails, got out. That was like, nope, if that's what this organization is becoming, I don't want anything to do with it. Now, so there was that. Now, if you would have asked us 10 years ago whether joining the National Cartoonist Society, the NCS, we would have probably given you a little bit of a negative answer. My answer would have been 100% negative. And the problem with the NCS, and I was a member 10 years ago for a little while, and the problem was I would ask people, hey, what do I get for my membership fees? Because it was like $200 to be a member of the NCS at the professional level. They've got something now. If you're under 26 years old, I think you can join at a special rate of like $26 if you're under 26 years old, which is a really smart thing. But I would ask, hey, what am I getting for my membership dues? And they would always pull this same bullshit. I bet you got it too. They would look at you and they'd say, well, it's not what you're getting out of it. What are you putting into it? You get out of it what you put into it.
And you would say, I put in $200.
And I ain't getting that out. Yeah. And that was always a really bullshit answer. That was, to me, it was not good enough for me. And I was not getting anything out of my membership there. And so I let my membership lapse until I just became a member again a few years ago. And Here's part of the reason that I think today, and if I'm talking, in fact, I've talked quite a few people into becoming members of the NCS because we had this same conversation. It's such a different organization now than it was then. Number one, they're doing a lot of outreach educationally. Jamar Nicholas is doing these open studios on YouTube. They're doing a lot of things where they've got their own social media feed inside a proprietary thing that a lot of people are finding useful, and they're doing a lot of outreach. In fact, like in-person meetups. The Philadelphia chapter is one of the nicest parts of my membership because we actually get together and do things. We went bowling at a real neat place a couple of weeks ago. I had the time of my life.
That's great. That's
and
great.
You're hanging out with people and you can talk about comics at a high level with other people who are pro-level people. And if you're somebody that's a beginner, this is really important for you to be able to come in and talk comics at a serious level. So like, what do you get? The NCS has started answering that question in a lot more concrete ways. Just for an example, and this is dumb, but it was, I'm going to bring it up. I got something in the mail a few weeks ago that said that through the NCS, I was eligible for a professional discount to the New Yorker magazine. I've never subscribed to the New Yorker because why would I, right? But I do enjoy the cartoons. It was 50 some bucks for an entire year, which was a pretty huge discount. And so I'm like, for 50 bucks?
Can I tell you, this is the first time hearing about that. I actually might subscribe to that.
Yes.
Will you forward me that link if you have it? We'll put it in the show notes.
Well, it was a paper envelope. It was
a paper envelope.
It was an envelope.
Yeah.
And so I'm for 50 bucks. And of course, they want you to sign up digitally so that that hopefully, you know how subscriptions work. I signed up with a paper check, which you can do too. Right. So now when it's done, it's done. And if I want to sign up again, I can. But that's not the point. The point is for 50 bucks, I've been getting the New Yorker here at the studio, just enjoying again, we were talking about having problems sleeping. And I was saying that I've been really trying to stop looking at screens before bedtime. Right. Having something physical that I can flip through and read a little bit before I get tired. Been a big part of my self-care routine. And that's what I got through my NCS membership. So that a few convention appearances that that you get through the NCS, if they're showing up at a show, you can say, "Hey, I'm a member. I'd like to show up and table," and they'll get you all squared away
for free. Yep,
you get a lot of stuff for your membership to the NCS, and that didn't always used to be that way. They're making a real effort towards that. In fact, I think we've got a note. We're going to talk about what they've got coming up in August. But I think especially for somebody who's serious about comics and wants to grow their career and stuff, I think the NCS, for me, has been money well spent.
Yeah. So I agree with you that essentially what they're leaning into, to answer Brad's question from 10 years ago, what do I get for my $200?
Yeah.
A lot of it is sort of news you can use now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the upcoming Rubens, one of the reasons why I'm so excited for this year in Columbus is every session is like a banger of news you can use. You know what I mean? It's going to be, the lawyers are going to be there. The Comic Lab session is going to be talking. There's going to be TED Talks that are 10-minute sessions of cartoonists sharing their specific abilities and stuff. So like, and I just want to compare and contrast this with what the NCS used to be 10 to 15 years ago, which was a 65-year-old cartoonist up on stage going, "Well, the way I used to do it was with the Ben-Day dots, and then and you're like, all right, well, this is great. And listen, that has a place. There is a use, and I say that as someone who loves the history of comics.
Yeah.
But in terms of what I get out of the NCS these days with Karen and Jamar and the board now bringing in much better speakers of like, hey, what's impacting comics right now? What can we do to react to it? Hey, how do you go about doing XYZ in your career? Here's actionable advice for you in the panels. I find that to be really helpful. And I agree with Brad about the free. But I want to say all of this balances out with, because I don't want to sound like an endless cheerleader. If you are truly a beginner and money is tight for you, there are myriad resources for you online for free that don't yet cost money. So like neither Brad nor I will say immediately throw $200 at the NCS and join. Not necessarily. Like if you are well on your way and the money spent could find a return in your work. And by that, I mean, you're not like doing one comic every 6 months and be like, yeah, I guess I'm amateur.
Yeah.
You're really leaning in on the pro-am aspects of cartooning. That really is the time when professional organizations like the Graphics Artists Guild or the NCS come in handy, because they're helping you to elevate your game. They're taking the work that you're already putting in on your work and they're saying, here's 20 things you can do to make it a little bit better. So even I and Brad, who now love the NCS compared to 10, 15 years ago, even we would say, listen, it's not an immediate yes for dropping $200 on membership. Like if you just have a passing interest in cartoonists, sure, you can also join. But if money is tight, I'm not saying like, hey, whatever you do, you got to join. I'm not taking that attitude. It's for a specific kind of person that either has the disposable income and the love of comics, because there is sort of associative membership for people that just love comics, right? That exists in the NCS. But I would say for anybody that's really at the, I'm serious about my pro-am cartooning, professional/amateur cartooning, and I want to get better at it, that's the time, I think, for quote-unquote beginners to start considering a professional organization.
Yeah.
And then for pros, I think it's a no-brainer. I think I definitely, as a pro, would recommend it to other pros.
100%. So here's the deal. By the way, I would co-sign everything you'd say, especially, if you've got a limited amount of income to throw around at this stuff, you've got to be smart with your money. And that starts here. I will say this about that. We've been trying to convince people ever since this show started 8 years ago. We've been trying to convince people that comic conventions are probably a really bad idea. And we've been trying to say, if you do a comic convention, keep track of all your expenses and do the honest math to say, are you making a profit? And you can go back and look those shows up. We did a real deep dive on how to do the honest math on your comic convention to decide whether this is a good idea. And the pushback we got from that all the time is, but Brad and Dave, I need to go to a comic convention because I need to network.
Right.
It's so important for me to network. My God, I wake up in the morning and I say, oh God, will I be able to network today? Maybe. I don't know. And if you had $200 in your pocket, and if you said, I could take this $200, you had $200 ain't going to get you shit at a comic convention. But let's say, pretend that $200 gets you a table at a comic convention. And you could do that in one hand, or you could take that $200 and use it to join an organization such as the NCS. I think your networking capabilities for the latter are exponentially greater than what you're going to face trying to network at a comic convention, where the costs are going to go way beyond 200. So if networking is your thing, I think NCS has the clear edge over going to a comic convention.
Yeah, again, I totally agree with Brad. I co-sign. And also, networking is great for business. There's a ton of editors and publishers that go to the NCS Rubin weekend. I will say that. Well, by ton, I mean, I don't know, half dozen to a dozen. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it sound extreme. Yeah. But one of the true networking joys for me in the NCS, and for a lot of things that I do in social meetups for cartoonists, is that it's just nice to meet fellow like-minded people that you don't have to do the "where do you get all your ideas from" conversation.
Yes.
You're more in the weeds of talking about the joys and pitfalls of cartooning immediately, because these are people that walk the walk. And so I find great joy in that. And I will say, if you're thinking about tabling for the networking, like Brad said so wonderfully dramatically there, honestly, the free tabling through the NCS at CXC, New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, ALA, and the Philadelphia show. Brad, what was the one that you did in with the Wizard
I did
World?
ALA Philadelphia. I don't know that they had a Wizard show, but they did ALA Philadelphia, and they had a small comics expo at Moore College. Basically, what happened between those two shows in Philadelphia, I had made my money back as of April last year. I'd made more than $200 by being a member of the NCS because of tabling opportunities alone. You know?
Yeah, and they're around the country. There's one within a couple hundred miles of wherever you are in the U.S., unless you're in Montana. But, I mean, you've driven through Montana, Brad, haven't you? It's just there's nothing there.
I've never
God
driven there,
them.
but I don't imagine that there's a whole lot there that I'd
broke
be
down. My
drawn
car
to.
broke down once in Helena, and boy, let me tell you, it's a lovely town with lovely people.
Where were you going? Where were you trying to get to? You weren't trying to get to Helena. Where were you going to?
Brad, I've told you this before. I've driven through all 50 states.
Really? I guess you did say that. Yeah.
I've gone on many I just like driving across America. It's kind of fun. But when I graduated from high school, 3 friends and I drove through 18 states, and our van broke down in Helena, and pretty fun when you're 19 and your cars break down and you have to pull together your cash to get that transmission fixed. And anyway, that's fun. It was a good life lesson. Anyway, so back to professional organizations.
Yeah.
I legit think there's a lot of value in the NCS. But again, if you're a true beginner, r/comics, free resource, Comic Lab, listening to it as a podcast, free resource.
I'll double down on that. Listen to Comic Lab. That's in our interest.
A ton of YouTube channels. What I'm saying is, if you're a true beginner, I just don't want someone who's 19 and listening to this to go, well, Brad and Dave said I got to pony up $200.
No, you're not paying attention. If you're 19, you go to the under 26 club and you're
that's true.
It's $26.
Yeah. You know what? Yes. And I think it's actually the under 27 club. But yes,
26,
Brad's point,
27.
Yeah. Brad's point is 100% correct. Take 4 Starbucks purchases that you were going to make in 2026 and say, you know what? I'm going to join the NCS as an under 27 person. But by the way, again, brilliant idea on the NCS's part to capture people in their teens and 20s. Because how fun to meet your cartooning heroes or to go and get the studio tours on Zoom when they do those. Those are fun. Like imagine if I could have done that at 21, I would have plots. It would have been great.
That's what I was just going to say. This past weekend, we were over at Dave Blasic's house doing judging for our categories for the Reuben Awards, the divisional awards. And I'm telling you, if you were a young person, like the type of person we're talking about, who's trying to get from pro-am to pro. If you could have been in that room while a whole bunch of us cartoonists, there was about a dozen of us or so, these comics would come up and we started talking about these comics at a really high level of craft. What made this good? What it is, and we'd have arguments over, did this guy make his word balloon lines too thick? And if so, how do you determine that? And how would you tell that guy? You know, and it's like, and then we'd say,
I just want to chime in excitedly to say yes, because the LA chapter just did their judging for the NCS, and same conversations. Like the level of technique discernment was so deep, and you're like, this is great. I'm so down for this conversation. You know,
you'd have this actually happened several times. A comic comes up on the screen, and I'm immediately hitting my imaginary buzzer, pass. They're like, what? This person draws really well. I said, look at the crossbar eye. This guy doesn't understand the crossbar eye rule. Out.
He's doing the Lady Macbeth out damn spot. Yeah.
It's like, listen, you either learn good comics or you can't get a divisional award if you don't know the crossbar eye rule. Not in my world. And so like you can imagine how much fun I am judging these fucking awards.
Oh my God.
But like we got into real craft talk. There was a person was doing really good comics, and I didn't like hit my buzzer on this person, but they were doing a middle grade graphic novel type of thing. And people were like, those gutters are way too small. Those are tight freaking gutters. We'd spent a lot of time talking about the importance of gutters and the good use of gutters, by the way. But we're like, look at those skinny gutters. I said, if we could get in touch with this person, I got $25 riding on the following. I said, this person uses Clip Studio Paint. They don't understand that Clip Studio paint comes pre-baked
Preloaded.
with very skinny gutters. They don't know that they can change those and widen them. They're using the out-of-the-box gutters. They don't realize that that's too small. Right? And if they could learn how to fix it, their comics would look better overnight. 3 people immediately, when I said that, knew exactly what I was talking about. They're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Clip Studio, the gutters pre-baked are way too small. That's the kind of conversations that I live for. I mean, listen, this has got me coming back to you Tuesday after Tuesday after Tuesday. For years. Part of the reason that you and I love talking to each other is that we can talk about comics at a very high level with people that'll understand what we're talking about. And because I can tell you this from experience, you stand out on the street over there on Broad Street and Market, and you start talking about how the gutters are too small, someone's going to come up and cart you away.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Grandpa, let's get back to your easy chair. You know, like when you start
down before you fall down.
But I will say, when we were doing the judging, someone in our group, and I won't say who it was in the LA chapter, started pointing out the really excellently handled sequentiality of a specific comic and how expertly the moments that they chose impacted the storytelling. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I had acknowledged the comic beforehand, but when they brought up this point, I was like, you are right. This is beautifully staged, and the moments are perfectly chosen, and the camera angles are perfectly chosen. And like this, so what I'm getting at there is that it not only was it next level discussion, it was also instructive discussion for me in that I learned in that moment from another artist saying, no, pause here. Look at how they did their sequentiality. This is really next level work. And I was like, A, you're right. And B, I can learn from this. So like, even in the judging, I was learning, which is, I mean, that's fantastic. That's
I had those moments too, where it's like I had my eyes open to some stuff that I really hadn't noticed before. And it's not till you're sitting around with a group of people like this where that happens. So for moments like that, that's an education that's hard to quantify in real terms. Like, you walk away from an afternoon like that, not only feeling good and happy that you hung out with a bunch of nice people, but your understanding of comics just grew by a huge amount just by being in that room.
Yeah. Well, speaking of education, we might as well educate folks to something that we're excited about while we're talking about the NCS. Listen, we're not made of stone here. We might as well talk about it. Yeah. We are going to be at the Rubens this year.
Another great thing that they've done.
Yes, the decision making is fantastic.
Yes.
No, but like, as I said before, and again, this is not, I'm saying this because I'm legitimately excited about the Rubens this year as a learning experience for me. I'm not kidding. I'm excited for the lawyer talk. I'm excited for the TED Talks, the 10-minute like professionals talking about the things that they are best at in life. Yeah. I'm excited for Jim Davis's talk. I'm excited for Kathy Geiswhite's talk. And I'm super excited for our talk at the Rubens.
We've been doing something for the past few years where we get up and we do kind of like a talk show panel presentation where we'll bring up 3 different cartoonists. And I don't think we can say who we're going to bring up yet, but I can say it's going to be a great group. It's going to be a great group. And we bring them up and we have a little bit of time one-on-one with them. And then in the way of the old Johnny Carson Tonight Show, they stay on the panel. The next person comes up. We talk to them, and then the conversation keeps growing and growing as you've got more and more people to interact with the topics that we're pitching. It has gone so well over the past, and we've had some great people up there in the past. We've had Sarah Anderson, we've had Jason Chatfield, we've had Tahid Bundia, we've had Dana Simpson. We've had a lot of people up there who were just tremendous, and it's always a good time.
And we can't say who's going to be on the panel yet because they haven't publicly revealed it, but we can reveal the title maybe. And the title is going to be Actionable Advice in a Time of Change.
Yes.
And that's going to be the hour talk that we're going to do. And of course, Brad and I will be chatting with people all over the weekend in terms of over a glass of wine, over a cup of coffee, over a bad Mexican meal that Brad recommends at a restaurant nearby.
Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you and Greg Evans both. You leave the lunch plans up to me, you're going to end up in a hole in the wall or a diner, and I will be the happiest guy. So next time you make the decision.
I just want to tell you that Greg Evans of Luann has pre-emailed me and said, don't invite me to lunch if Brad's choosing the restaurant. So anyway, we are giving a talk. It's going to be a 300-person auditorium on Thursday afternoon. And then there's also going to be a fantastic keynote speech at the Rubin Weekends.
Yes.
The registration is open now. Brad and I would love to see you there. And we would love to see as many faces from Comic Lab join the NCS. Because like we said, we are finding it worthwhile. So head over to nationalcartoonist.com to register. You can either register as a member of the NCS if you already are joining or you're thinking about joining. Or I think, Brad, can you get tickets as a non-member of the NCS? You can get tickets
as a non-member. So I recommend people join so you're going to get immediate, when that announcement goes out that the tickets are open, you're on that email list. You don't have to join to be on the email list. And if you go all the way down to the bottom of that membership page, you can just join to be on the newsletter. And
the part that says sign up for event notices and that sort of
exactly. Yeah. So you want to do one of those things because tickets are going to go fast. They've only got a certain number of hotel rooms there available. So do make your plans now to join us in late or in early August 6th through the 8th. In Columbus, and we've got a few more things that we'd love to we'd love to talk to you about. We've got a few things that are going on. We can't even tell you all of them yet, but it's going to be a great week.
And listen, in addition to being at Columbus's and Ohio State's Cartoon Museum, which is amazing, they're also, for the first time, I think in a decade, they're going to do a signing and selling event after the Rubin Weekend. So if you are a member of the NCS and you are coming to the show, you can partially underwrite or hopefully totally underwrite your trip by signing and selling at the event after the Rubin event. So
plan on staying the weekend. That's Uncle Brad's advice. Plan on staying the weekend. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
And so anyway, so yes, you can attend without becoming a member. Brad and I, boy, we're actually becoming super huge fans of the NCS for everybody at the Pro-Am and Pro level. Jump in, join us in August. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
Dave, it's time for an update. You remember how we were asking people to call in and talk about, for somebody who didn't grow up in the United States, what our accents sounded like. And we shared some of those with you a couple episodes ago. We got a late one, and this came in from our comic back. We're calling it the Comic Lab Talkback line.
What are we calling it,
moly.
Grandpa? Wow. We're calling it the
fifth. Oh, Philagadusha. We're calling it the Comic Lab Talkback line, 609-379-3520. And if you want it, we're gonna keep this line open. If you want to call and share your thoughts, if we like it, we'll even put it on the air. So when you wrap it up, let us know what your comic is and where we can find it. But this call came in, and Dave, I just want you to hear this fresh from one of our fans from down under.
I love it. But before we go on, I have to tell you, Brad and I didn't talk about what we're going to call this phone line. And I just have to critique my friend.
You don't like Comic Lab Talkback?
Because it took you 5 tries to say it, for one thing. This is what it sounded like in terms of ease of speaking. Gang, here's what we're calling it. We're calling it the Comic Back Super Chat Live Talk Mega Chat Roundabout Phone Call Line. Easy to say, easy to spray. I've been Brad Geiger. What the hell was that name? We're calling it the
I kept
Comic
calling
Lab
it Comic
Talkback
Talk.
Live Line. There was like 14 words in that thing.
It was the
Jeez
Comic
Louise.
Talk Back Lab.
Oh my God. I love you so much. That was the worst name pitch ever. And you said it like we agreed on it. We're calling it the Comic Club Talkback Superline Chat Talk. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm super excited. So this call that came in, like you said, is from Australia. And let's play it now on Comic Lab Talkback Chat Line Super Talk Chatterama.
Hey, comic gurus. I want to call you uncles considering I'm your age. About your accents, so I hate to break it to you, but we Europeans can hardly tell the difference between East Coast and West Coast accent. We just used to it from the movies, and the differences are pretty minor to us. Two villages sideways in the UK probably makes a different difference than East to West in the US to us. But anyway, you two aside, we need to address the elephant in the room. I mean, I'm a married man, but if Susan McTaggart comes on, that voice and accent, oh man, you can cut the sexual tension with a knife. I didn't dare up my pledge to $10 because I don't know what a personal affirmation would have done to me. Well, anyway, keep up the great work, you two. This is Alfred from Austria, writer and producer of Serpents in the Saint and Sally Sells Bells. So have a great 2026.
Bradley, I heard my voice.
Yes.
Did someone ask for me, Bradley?
Yes. Susan not only asked for you, but some jerk said that he was from Australia when actually he's clearly said he was from Austria. So,
Bradley, can I say, not only is title choice is not your thing, Bradley, but I'm going to say perhaps geography is something we need to bone up on, Bradley. We need to bone up on our geography.
well, listen, this person said that if he got a personal affirmation from you, he doesn't know what he would do. It almost sounds like you've got to give this person a personal affirmation just to make his life.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a little personal affirmation in Brad Geiger style. Since Brad doesn't seem to understand basic global geography. So I'll say, hey, listen to my super fan in Austria. Brad Geiger seems willing to go down on Austria.
I swear to God, it makes so much sense now. I listened to that and I'm like, he does not sound like an Australian accent.
Bradley, no one ever accused you of being a 60-watt bulb in a 2-watt socket. Bradley, you're doing your best, Brad. You're keeping it together. Bradley Geiger, I gotta tell you, keep searching for the stars, Brad, because you need a little light to shine through the darkness that is your brain, Brad. And I'll see you next week when my new book drops from Penguin Random House called Brad Geiger, A Life Well Lived, A Brain Unused. The new book from Susan McTaggart and Penguin Random House Publishing.
Thank you so much. Leaving on a wafting cloud of sandalwood. That's all I remember from that. Oh my gosh.
Brad Geiger, I can't believe you made the classic American mistake of saying that they were from Australia.
This call came in a couple weeks ago. And it's been Australia in my notes. It's been Australia in our show, and what I had up on the list that you and I share. And it wasn't until I heard it just now that I realized he said Austria and not Australia. And it makes so much more sense now because I'm like, that guy does not sound like an Australian accent.
I absolutely love this for you that you said Australia going into this.
Here's our friend from down under. down under Poland.
Oh my God, Brad, you are a delight. Not only do you know everything there is to know about vampires, you know absolutely nothing about Austria, and I think that's fantastic. Brad will be like getting off a plane in Vienna going like, hey, where do I go to see the
Go ahead, land the joke. You can do it. You got to say something Australian now. Shrimp on the Barbie. You can.
Yeah, there we go. I had nothing. It's like, wait, yeah.
Look, Seriously, I want you to land this joke now.
I had nothing. I started the joke and I had nowhere to go. I was going to be like, you get off a plane in Vienna, and I was trying to think of like I couldn't remember the goddamn thing. What's off the coast of Australia that we're ruining with global warming? It's
the coral reef, the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, the Great Barrier Reef. And I was going to make a Vienna joke about the Great Barrier Reef, and I couldn't land the plane because I couldn't think of what the goddamn thing was called.
The Sydney Opera House.
Sydney Opera House. I was going to conflate that with the famous coffee house culture of Austria, Brad.
The birthplace of Jason Chatfield.
Or how Mozart or Beethoven. Yeah, listen, the waltz. There's a billion things we could say about Austria and conflate it with Australia. The waltz. We could say waltzing Matilda. We could have done that joke. Yes. We could have conflated the waltz with waltzing Matilda. That would have been pretty good. Anyway, we're hacks. We're not very good, guys. We're not very good at our jobs. Wiener Schnitzel. What do you got for Wiener Schnitzel, Brad?
Oh my God.
That's Austrian.
Put some Wiener Schnitzel on the Barbie is the first place I'm going to.
There you go.
With that.
Put a couple Wiener Schnitzel on the Barbie, mate. Yeah. There you go. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, was Austrian, right? What else we got from? I'm desperately racking my brain for any Austria fun facts that I have. I've got nothing.
Well, listen, I'm going to get you out of trouble. Because we're going to go from Austria to right back here to the United States. And we've got a question from one of our Comic Lab backers, and it has to do with pop culture references, which hopefully we are a little bit better with. Question is, Brad and Dave, do you do anything to keep yourself in touch with the kids these days? And by the way, thank goodness he's got it in quotes, in touch with the kids these days. Or do you possibly not worry what the kids are into because your audience is all over the place demographically?
Well, I will be honest that I'm increasingly aware of the huge cultural gap between myself and someone who is 17.
Yeah.
Or someone who is 25. The lingo has just moved past me, and the times have moved past me. So I personally largely accept that my readership is probably, for the most part, within a 10-year gap in the other direction of me.
Yes.
Brad, how do you look at this? Do you try to actively sprinkle the word Riz into your comics, Brad? And
no.
I asked this, do you 6'7" your comics, Brad? Is there no cap, Brad? Is no cap given? I said that like there was no quarter given. Bradley's no cap given, I say.
No, you know what? The few times I've tried to throw those words in, I actually saw my children die a little bit inside. Yeah. You know, like in Princess Bride, where they take a little bit of their life away. It was the same thing. And I'm not good at it. Like I can throw those words in, cap, no cap, base and all that. But listen, it's not natural. And I don't think there's any reason to try to pretend that you're something you're not. The whole thing, what's one of the guiding forces of this show is to be yourself, is that there's no niche that's too small, or a niche for that matter, that's too small. If you're into something, you're going to find out very quickly that there's a whole lot of people into that thing, and you don't have to pretend. So no, I don't see any. I think people value authenticity more than they value popularity. And I would rather be authentic than popular. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the benefit, Brad, is we grew up in an era where we saw newspaper comic strip cartoonists trying to maintain their relevancy by like sprinkling in internet jokes or this or that. And you're like, Beetle Bailey, what are you doing? Yeah. Oh, come on now. Heathcliff, no, don't make a look-smacking Maxings joke. Don't do this, Heathcliff. You're embarrassing both of us, Heathcliff. Come on, get your shit together. You're 65, Heathcliff, for God's sakes. You're not a young cat anymore, Heathcliff. So, don't you think that informed what we tried to do? It's like, I just know that, like, the times where I have dipped a toe into trying to maintain my contact with the youths, I can just feel that I'm getting the dad eye rolls of like, Dad, what are you doing? This kind of thing. And so it doesn't really work.
This thing has never worked out for anybody. Right. I mean, I being a big fan, as you mentioned at the top of the show, big fan of vaudeville. And there have been recordings of like Jack Benny and George Burns walking out on stage and doing this whole bit where they were hanging out with the hippies in the park, right? Oh. And they're making all these references to hippie and pot culture and everything. And it's so not them. It's so not sincere. It's so ungenuine that it really, you just want them to be, it's like, hey, don't you realize you want to grab them and say, you don't get it. You're Jack Benny. We love you for being Jack Benny. You don't have to be Mitch Hedberg, right? Mitch Hedberg is Mitch Hedberg. You're George Burns. Be George Burns. That's what we showed up for. And you can go throughout pop history as you see older performers try to hang out. You see Frank Sinatra coming out. There's a great clip of Frank Sinatra playing a duet with Elvis Presley. And it's very stiff. It's very hackneyed. It's not a good performance.
It's not.
Right? And that's because this MFer forgot he was Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And he didn't have to be Elvis Presley.
In contrast, one of the great pairings that did work of old with young was Bing Crosby with David Bowie. When they did that, specifically, there's a Christmas song and it was because Bing Crosby was still being Bing Crosby. Right. He wasn't trying to do the Utes like, hey, whatever these cats are singing in 1977. So basically, David Bowie went to him rather than Bing Crosby went to David, if you know what I mean. And so it was less cringy because it still worked. So to Brad's point, it doesn't gain me anything. And if anything, I think it kind of makes everybody look stupid if I try to appeal to the Utes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I could. I'm savvy enough to know that I'm not going to win them over.
Right.
And the ones that will recognize what I'm trying to do, if anything, they'll just get a cringe factor from it. They'll just be like, "Oh, Jesus, what's this all about? This is terrible." So I'm not going to use the terminology right. I'm not going to use the references right. And I'm going to embarrass us both. Basically, is the short version for this one.
No, and again. It's the same thing. You've got to turn that back on yourself and say, it's enough that I am Dave Kellett. And when people come to Sheldon or they come to Drive, they want Dave Kellett. They don't want somebody else, right? It's enough to be Dave. Dave, you are enough. And also, we've had enough. We've had enough show for 1 week. We've got to get out of here so you and I can work on our own Riz. And that means that we've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Well, you've certainly had enough Uncle Maxing for today, everybody. And so let's say your hosts have been my friend Brad Geiger, the editor of... I hope I used that right. I don't even know if I did.
That one went right over... That's so new it went right over my head. I have no idea.
I will say your hosts have been my friend Brad Geiger, the editor of webcomics.com and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com and the handsome new co-host of the Fantastic Drawing Show over at wrongwayshow.com.
Cap. And my close personal friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host, along with our good pal Kevin McShane of The Drawing Show at wrongwayshow.com.
And the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net, and this episode was edited by the ever-wonderful, ever-whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, and we know that you do, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast charts. And don't forget, you can call and tell us what you think of this wonderful show. You might even hear your call on the show. Just call us at 609-379-3520 at the Comic Lab Talkback line. Now I'm going to make it a thing. And you may even hear your voicemail on the show.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So we'll go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/TalkbackLiveChat, super expansion, social media, chat line, fun times, easy to remember. Call in now, Comic Back Live line. I've been Brad Geiger. It was the chewiest goddamn thing you've ever tried to pitch on the show. It was so chewy. And that's why we're calling it the Comic Back, Talk Back, Live Line, Chatorama, Talk, easy to remember, chat, line, super talk. Oh my God. And I'm over here sweating on your behalf. I just had instant pit sweat, like, oh God, get through it, land the plane, get through it, oh God.
We'll put that on the shelf. We'll workshop that later. But I've got a whole new thing now. 1-900 Comic Lab Talk. Talk to hot cartoonists in your area. I think we're bringing back the 900 number.
See now, cartoonists in your neighborhood are waiting to talk to you. Yes. Call Brad Geiger live at Comic Lab Live Chat Talk Back Live line.
Yes, hello, this is Brad Geiger. You are on the 1-900 Talk to a Hot Cartoonist. How can I help you today? Ask me about the Ames lettering guide.
Hey, hi, Mr. Geiger.
Yeah?
My name is Tim Bibbins. I'm calling to ask you about the Ames lettering guide.
Oh, I've got an Ames lettering guide right here. In fact, I'm pulling it across my T-square.
I don't want to do this joke. I'm out.